Have you ever wondered what would happen to your body if you just stopped making decisions about food? No more counting macros, no more guessing. Just a mathematically perfect, clinically engineered protocol for exactly 60 days. Well, 60 people just did exactly that inside a hidden university lab, and what the scientists measured will completely change how you view weight loss. Welcome back to Clinical Trials Explained. Today, we are diving deep into a fascinating human experiment. It was conducted at the University of Memphis in collaboration with USANA Health Sciences, and it wrapped up in late 2023. Now, on the surface, this might just look like another diet study, but it's not. Most diet studies are incredibly flawed. They tell people to eat less and move more, they send them home, and they hope for the best. And guess what? People cheat, people guess, people fail. But in this trial, the researchers asked a very different question. What happens to a human being, biologically and psychologically, when you remove almost all of their food choices? What happens when you put them on a clinically controlled 60-day protocol consisting of precise meal replacements, specific metabolism supplements, electrolyte drinks, and just one single whole food meal a day? Does their metabolism crash? Do they lose dangerous visceral fat or just water weight? And most importantly, how does it affect their brain? Do they become miserable and irritable, or do they experience a surge in energy and self-esteem? Over the next few minutes, we are going to break down the exact science of this study. We are going to look at the massive list of blood markers they tracked. We are going to explore the cutting-edge DEXA scans used to peer inside these patients' bodies. And we are going to explain why this specific 60-day protocol might just be the exact biological reset millions of people have been desperately waiting for. You are going to want to stick around for the end of this one, because we are going to break down exactly what this means for your own body. Let's get into it. To understand why this clinical trial is so incredibly important, we first need to talk about the brutal reality of the obesity epidemic. We need to understand the problem in massive detail. Right now, in the United States, we are fighting a losing battle. The majority of adults are overweight or obese. But overweight is just a clinical word. Let's talk about what is actually happening beneath the skin. Imagine your body as a highly complex, beautifully engineered hybrid car. It has two ways to run. It can burn sugar, glucose, for quick energy, or it can burn stored fat for long-term energy. When you are young and your metabolism is healthy, your body switches between these two fuel sources effortlessly. You eat a sandwich, you burn the carbs. You go to sleep, you burn the fat. But over years of eating the modern Western diet, highly processed foods, hidden sugars, constant snacking, your metabolic engine breaks down. Your body forgets how to burn fat. It gets stuck in sugar-burning mode. When this happens, your body starts pumping out massive amounts of a hormone called insulin. Think of insulin as a key. Its job is to unlock your cells and shove the sugar inside so your body can use it for energy. But eventually, your cells get tired of having sugar shoved into them. They change the locks. This is called insulin resistance. Now, the sugar has nowhere to go. It floats around in your bloodstream, acting like microscopic shards of glass, damaging your blood vessels. Your body panics, and it takes all that excess sugar and converts it into the most dangerous substance in the human body, visceral fat. This isn't the soft, jiggly fat right under your skin.
That's called subcutaneous fat, and while you might not like how it looks in a bathing suit, it is relatively harmless. No, visceral fat is different. Visceral fat wraps itself around your liver. It strangles your pancreas. It weaves itself through your intestines. It is a toxic, active, inflammatory organ that is actively poisoning you from the inside out. And getting rid of it, it is one of the hardest things a human being can do. Because when you try a traditional diet, your brain fights back. You cut calories, you try to eat salads, but your brain, which is an absolutely ruthless energy accountant, realizes it's not getting the calories it used to. So what does it do? It makes you tired, It makes you angry. It spikes your hunger hormones like ghrelin, making you obsess over food. And finally, it slows down your basal metabolic rate. This is why 95% of diets fail. It's not because people are lazy, it's because they are fighting a biological war against their own evolution. And historically, the weight loss industry has offered terrible solutions. Let's take a quick trip back in time. In the 1970s and 80s, we had the meal replacement boom. You probably remember the old commercials, chalky, terrible-tasting shakes. The promise was simple. Drink this shake for breakfast, drink this shake for lunch, eat a sensible dinner. And guess what? People did lose weight, but they were miserable. The shakes were packed with sugar to make them taste good, but they had almost zero fiber. They starved the gut microbiome. They offered no metabolic support. So the moment these people stopped drinking the shakes, their bodies rebounded. The weight piled back on, and usually they gained back even more than they lost. It was a disaster.
This is exactly why the University of Memphis trial is so fascinating. They looked at the failure of the past, and they asked, how do we fix this? How do we create a program that doesn't just starve the body, but actively nourishes and repairs the metabolism? Enter the Active Nutrition Program by USANA. Let's look at the exact protocol they used for this trial. They recruited 60 men and women. The requirement? They had to have a body mass index, a BMI, between 28 and 39.9. To put that in perspective, a BMI of 28 is classified as heavily overweight, bordering on obese. A BMI of 39.9 is classified as Class 2 severe obesity. These are people who are carrying significant amounts of that dangerous visceral fat we talked about earlier. The researchers were incredibly strict about who could join. If you were a smoker, you were out. Why? Because nicotine is an artificial appetite suppressant, and it constricts blood vessels. It would ruin the data. If you had diabetes, you were out. They needed a clean baseline to see how the diet affects natural insulin levels. If you drank alcohol or caffeine within 24 hours of the study visits, you were out. They needed perfectly clean human data. Now, let's look at the actual 60-day intervention. What did these 60 people actually do? They were split into two groups. The control group was told to just keep living their lives, follow their normal everyday diets. But the experimental group, they were put on a rigid, highly structured, 60-day biological reset. Every single day, their caloric intake was strictly locked between 1,200 and 1,600 calories. But it wasn't just arbitrary calories. The precise mechanism of action here is beautiful in its simplicity. Here is exactly what they consumed every single day. First, 2 Nutrimeal active meal replacement shakes. Unlike the sugary shakes of the 1980s, modern clinical shakes are engineered down to the microscopic level. They are perfectly balanced with high-quality protein to protect lean muscle mass, healthy fats to keep the brain functioning, and crucially, specialized fibers to feed the gut microbiome and keep the stomach feeling full. Second, 1 electrolyte replacement drink. Why is this so important? When you lower your calories and carbohydrates, your body flushes out water. And with that water goes vital minerals, sodium, potassium, magnesium. When you lose electrolytes, you get headaches, you get brain fog, you get the diet flu. By forcing the patients to drink clinical-grade electrolytes, the researchers bypass the brain fog. Third, 3 Metabolism Plus supplements. This is the wild card. During a calorie deficit, the body tries to lower its internal thermostat. It tries to slow down your metabolism to save energy. By introducing specific, scientifically formulated metabolic supplements, the goal is to keep the body's internal furnace burning hot, even while calories are restricted. Finally, they were allowed 1 whole food meal and whole food snacks consisting entirely of fruits and vegetables. Think about the psychological relief of this protocol. You don't have to weigh your chicken breast. You don't have to track your macros on an app. You don't have to argue with yourself in the grocery store aisle. You wake up, you drink your shake, you take your supplements, you drink your electrolytes, you have your real food dinner. You are outsourcing your willpower to the protocol. But the University of Memphis didn't just take their word for it. They didn't just put them on a scale and say, good job. They put these 60 people through an absolute battery of high-tech medical testing. On day 0, day 30, and day 60, they brought them into the lab.
And the list of things they measured is absolutely staggering. Let's break down the lab work, because this is where the real magic of this clinical trial happens. First, they drew blood to check the lipid panel. We're talking total cholesterol, HDL, the good cholesterol off like a garbage truck clearing out your arteries, LDL, the bad cholesterol that builds up as plaque, and triglycerides. Triglycerides are arguably the most important marker here. Triglycerides are literally fat floating in your blood. When you eat too many carbs, your body turns them into triglycerides. If this 60-day protocol works, we should see triglyceride levels absolutely plummet. Next, they measured fasting glucose and insulin levels. Remember our lock and key analogy? By measuring both the chevron blood, glucose, and the keys trying to unlock the cells, insulin, researchers can see in real time if the patient's insulin resistance is being reversed. Are the cells becoming sensitive again? Is the body remembering how to burn fat? Then they brought out the big guns. They didn't just use a tape measure for waist and hip circumference, though they did track that. They used something called DEXA, dual energy X-ray absorptiometry. DEXA is the gold standard of body composition. It is a highly advanced, low-dose X-ray that scans your entire body line by line. It doesn't just tell you that you lost 10 pounds. It tells you exactly what those 10 pounds were. Did you lose 5 pounds of water, 3 pounds of muscle, and 2 pounds of fat? That's a bad diet.
Or did you lose 10 pounds of pure, highly toxic visceral fat while maintaining all of your bone density and lean muscle mass? That is the holy grail of weight loss. The DEXA scan strips away all the lies. It sees the fat wrapped around the organs. It measures bone mineral density down to the gram. And if that wasn't enough, the researchers took standardized digital images, photos of the patients from the front, side, and back, from the neck to the knees, wearing form-fitting clothing. They are tracking the exact millimeter by millimeter physical transformation of the human body over 60 days. But here is my favorite part of the entire trial. Here is the variable that proves these researchers actually understand human beings. They measured perceived wellness. They gave the patients a 100 millimeter visual analog scale, a slider from 0 to 10, and they asked them to rank their feelings. They measured their self-esteem. They measured their energy levels. They measured their motivation. They measured their irritability. They measured their focus, their hunger, their endurance, and their overall life satisfaction.
This is brilliant, because let's be brutally honest, you can put someone on a diet of ice cubes and celery, and they will lose weight. The DEXA scan will show fat loss, the blood sugar will drop. But if their irritability is at a 10, if their self-esteem is at a 0, if their hunger is screaming at them every waking second of the day, the diet is useless, because the second the 60 days are over, they are going to drive straight to a fast food drive-thru and eat 4,000 calories. By tracking the psychology of the patients alongside the biology of the patients, the University of Memphis is trying to prove that the active nutrition protocol doesn't just shrink the body, it heals the mind's relationship with food. Now here is the incredible part. The study officially completed its final patient visits on September 7th, 2023. 60 people walked out of that lab having completed the 60-day protocol. Their final vials of blood were drawn, their final DEXA scans were recorded, their final psychological surveys were logged. But as of right now, the final peer-reviewed dataset has not been publicly posted to the clinical trials database. And that creates an intense, incredibly exciting situation. We are waiting for the final numbers to drop, and when they do, we are going to be looking for 3 massive what-ifs. What if the blood panels show a total reversal of pre-diabetic markers? If a simple 60-day shake, supplement, and real food protocol can drop fasting insulin and absolutely crush blood triglycerides, it means we have a viable, non-pharmaceutical intervention for the millions of people staring down the barrel of metabolic disease. What if the DEXA scans reveal something unprecedented? When people diet, they almost always lose lean muscle mass.
It is an unfortunate side effect of calorie restriction. But if the specific protein ratios in the Nutrimeal Active shakes, combined with the metabolism supplements, manage to perfectly preserve the patient's lean muscle mass while exclusively burning visceral fat, that would be a monumental victory for clinical nutrition. And finally, the psychological what if. What if, at day 60, the patients reported higher energy, higher self-esteem, and lower hunger than they did at day 0. Imagine a diet where you eat 1,200 to 1,600 calories a day, and by the end of it, you aren't starving, you aren't irritable, you are thriving. If the data proves this, it shatters the long-held belief that losing weight requires suffering. It proves that when you feed the body the precise clinical nutrients it needs, even in a calorie deficit, the brain stops fighting you and starts working with you. Why does this trial matter to you? Why should you care about 60 people in a lab in Memphis, Tennessee? Because almost every single person watching this video has either struggled with their weight or loves someone who has.
We live in a society that makes it incredibly easy to get sick and incredibly difficult to get healthy. We are surrounded by hyper-palatable, ultra-processed foods that hijack our brain chemistry. And when we try to fix it, the diet industry bombards us with conflicting information. Eat keto. No, eat vegan. Count your macros. Try intermittent fasting. It is exhausting. It is mental fatigue on a massive scale. What this trial represents is a beacon of simplicity. It explores the idea that sometimes the best way to hit the reset button on your health is to take the steering wheel out of your own hands for a little while, to rely on science, to rely on structured, precise, engineered nutrition. If a 60-day intervention like the Active Nutrition Protocol can effectively cleanse the liver of fat, stabilize blood sugar, and give people their self-esteem back, it is not just a diet, it is a lifeline. It means that no matter how broken your metabolism feels right now, it is not permanent. It means that with the right clinical tools, the human body is incredibly resilient. It desperately wants to heal. It just needs the right raw materials and exactly 60 days to do the work. The second the University of Memphis hits publish on these final results, I am going to be right here, breaking down the exact data. We are going to look at those lipid panels. We are going to read those DEXA scan results, and we are going to see exactly how this protocol changed those 60 lives. If you found this deep dive fascinating, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. My goal on this channel is to bypass the mainstream media headlines, bypass the diet gurus, and take you straight to the raw, unedited science of clinical trials. I want to hear from you. Could you do it? Could you hand over total control of your diet to a clinical protocol for 60 days? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts on meal replacements and metabolic supplements. Have you tried them? Did they work for you? Make sure you like this video so the algorithm knows you love real science, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next breakdown. Next week, we are looking at a brand new, highly controversial trial, testing a radical new treatment. You will not want to miss it. Until then, stay curious, trust the data, and I'll see you in the next clinical trial.